Hello there, Facebooks. Right, next instalment on the beautiful GSXR1100. Oh, look at that, lovely. Anyway, right, today's videos, hopefully, obviously because I haven't started them yet and you know how things might change, we'll say today's video will be the next few videos. Tyres. Now I have a set of tyres in the correct sizes, not in the wrong sizes because some idiot ordered them incorrectly, but I have a set of tyres in the right sizes. I have a set of wheels, there's one, and where's the other one? There's another wheel somewhere. How can you lose a GSXR1100 wheel? Oh, it's still in the bike. Fucking donut. Oh my life, Jesus. That bodes well for today, doesn't it? There's the other wheel. Fun enough, still connected to the bike. So, next job will be to get this in the air, get that wheel out, get the tyres off, check the bearings, get the discs off, try and do something about that white paint in the centres, because that shouldn't be there. I do have a set of titanium bolts for the disc, and then I need to drop the forks out and get the fork seals done. Only one's leaking, one on the other side, but there is absolutely no point in doing one leg at a time. So both fork seals will be done, and then it will be a case of starting to bolt it back together. First job today though will be remove the clutch master cylinder and remove the clutch slave cylinder, because that is leaking, hence a pile of wet rag on the floor. So that's leaking, so I need to make sure I can crack off all the bolts, the hose bolt and the bleeder, and obviously the hose at the top end. Make sure they all crack off while they're on the bike because they're nice and held solid, and then we can then work on that. So what I'll probably do is I'll just crack these gently and then nip them back up again to make sure they undo, get the slave off, and while there's still pressure in the system, start pumping the piston out so it's a lot easier to get out. And then I have rebuild kits. So what I plan to do, it didn't work last time because some idiot didn't press the right button on the camera, but I will try and do another time lapse. Say another time lapse, I think I did one last time and I tried about 4, so there will be hopefully some time lapse. So the next thing you should see will be stuff on the bench with me pulling it apart. Right, back in a minute. Well, it'll be a second actually, because it's the magic of YouTube, cameras, all that sort of stuff. So see you soon. Well, some sort of success. Clutch slave off, master cylinder off. Unfortunately one of the retaining screws sheared, hence the metal filings in there. I did have to take a drill to one of the bolts. So it sheared, it didn't shear, it just wouldn't come out, so that is now in there. However, right, I did see that plate on the top and I did second guess what it was, and yeah, the cases had a whack at some point and the top of it's busted, and someone has just shaped something and then stuck some self-tapping screws in. So I need a new cover, so I'm not even going to bother trying to drill the remains of that seize bolt out. I need new cover, so eBay, here we come. Right, next thing to do is going to be get that piston out with a bit of compressed air, I think. So I will put it on time lapse, just so really you can't see me coating myself and everything else with brake fluid, or in this case clutch fluid, because that is what's going to happen as soon as I put an airline on that. We all know. Back soon. I will try the time lapse and we'll see what happens. So you'll either see this being disassembled in super fast time, or you'll see it complete because I've pressed the wrong button again. We probably know what it's going to be, but let's give it a go. If that worked, you would have seen me pulling this apart, giving it a clean, chucking some new seals, or a new seal in it, new spring, bit of rubber grease to help it on its way, and then reassemble it. Also in the packet, bleed nipple cover, new crush washers for the bottom end, and a new seal which fits behind there. Now I've got a horrible feeling I've got to take the sprocket off to get to that, because I'm pretty certain there's going to be another tab washer, sorry, another 10mm in down the back of there. So whilst that one's not leaking, I may leave that, I may not. We'll play that by ear. I'm going to pull the push rod out, have a good look at it, see what it's looking like. So that was that. Next thing to do is going to be the clutch master, and I'll try and do a time lapse of that as well, and then we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. Right, well hopefully that worked, and you just see me rebuilding the clutch master cylinder. All went together pretty well. It was quite seized in there. There was a fair bit of corrosion actually inside where the rubber boot had obviously split at some point.
and the only thing I did have to do was I had to pop the boot back out to put the plunger in. The plunger didn't want to go in, just by putting it in and rotating it around, you know, giving it a spin and letting the rubber boot seat. So that I took that back out. I've done that. It's all ready to go. There's the slave, all ready to go. It's a shame there was not a new bleed nipple with the caliper rebuild kit, not the caliper. I've been doing brakes so much with the slave cylinder rebuild kit. However, I'll put one in here somewhere. Yeah. Let's have a look through my bits. Oh, RC jets. Yeah, I'll look through my bits later because I've probably got a stainless bleed nipple somewhere, so I'll dig one out and see what I've got, because the others would have been binned and thrown away. I mean, you can see how corroded this was. If that focuses, is that focused? Let's try that. No. Or we'll throw it on the floor, one of the two. And obviously the circlip was a bit of a pain to get out. That was pretty rusted in, but it's all out, it's all good, it's ready to go. So next job will be to chuck it all back on the bike, bleed the clutch up, and then that'll be one less thing to do. So onwards and upwards, and eBay tonight to try and find a new sprocket cover. It's never ending, is it, with an old bike? Right, catch you soon. And we're back for another project day. Project day? Fuck off. And we're back for another day, what's that day? A few hours fettling on the project GSXR1100. Oh, lovely thing of beauty. Yeah, I've got a bit of time today, so I thought first things first. I've been trying to get a new sprocket cover. You can probably see that one has obviously had a chain sling off at some time, and that's been screwed very crudely on the top. Now I can't get one anywhere, they're a bit of a nightmare, so, which is probably why this one's been fixed. So I'm going to try and do a better job of repairing that. That'll be a bit of a project for today. But before I bother with that, I'm going to try and drill out, can you see in there, the bolt that was seized that holds, now it doesn't hold the slave cylinder in, it holds the dust cover, if you want to call it a dust cover, the cover that keeps all the crap off anyway, and that basically sits on there inside the cover. So first things first, let's get that drilled out, see if we can re-tap it. If I have to go to a larger size, then I will. There's enough meat on there to get that done. So that'll be the first thing to do today, and then if that all goes well, what I might then move on to is getting this awful retreaded tyre off, pull the disc off, give this a rub down and a clean up, get that valve out, and give it a paint back to gloss black. Obviously I'll check the wheel bearings, make sure they're all good first of all, because I can knock those out at the same time and get some ordered up, or pop down to local bearing place and get some. The weather's not fantastic today, it's a bit shit, so I do really want to paint this in the garden because I don't really want too much overspraying here. So it'll probably be on a set of axle stands and a rod through the centre, and we'll see how we get on. I've got some paint. So first things first, sprocket cover. Let's see how we go. You'll find out very shortly. Right, got the old trusty drill and some decent drill bits out.
Now that probably won't focus, so you can't see, but at some point as the drill bit has been cutting through, it's gripped and it's actually wound the remains of the screw into the cover, which is good news. So that means that that is loose. So what I'm going to try and do now is hammer something in there, maybe a Torx bit, something like that, and see if I can wind that out. There might have been a little bit of heat from the drilling, but it didn't get very hot. I was running quite a slow speed and it was cutting really nicely. So let's see if we can put something in that and see if that will wind out. If not, I'm progressively going to have to just drill it slightly larger and try and get a tap in there, but again, it's a bit of an awkward place to get a tap into. See how we get on. Right, so what we got in there is a T20 Allen key. I had nothing else that would reach in there. All my T20s that were 3/8 drive were either too big, because I think they start at probably a 25, and that wouldn't work, or they're too short. So T20, however, stuck a spanner on the end of it, and look at this. Beautiful. There we go. Now I recorded that because it doesn't always happen like that, as anyone that works on bikes will know. But the main thing is, either have a steady hand or put on a pillar drill, because you really want to be drilling down the centre of that, because if you're off centre, that's not going to focus, is it? If you're off centre, then it's not going to work. So some days you get lucky, some days you don't. So let's match up a replacement, and we'll get that clutch side and the cover bonded and rebuilt best as it's going to be until I can get a replacement. It's not great, is it? Is that focusing? Yeah, it's not great at all, but hey ho, at least we've got 2 fixing points now. That's the least of my worries. We'll get that done. Right, back in a second. Case is repaired, clutch push rod's cleaned up, so let's pop that in there. That's got a fair bit of grease just on the outside to give it some corrosion protection. Bit of grease on the outside of the cover just to give that the same, and then replace with the standard Phillips, or it's probably a JIS head. I've got those screwdrivers, that's fine. And then a little 10mm, because there's no clearance requirements inside of there once that cover's on, so that's not a problem once we put it on and chuck it on the right way. So we'll get the cover bolted up. I have got a replacement push rod seal, but I'm not going to fit that today. There will be other work, and I want to give all this a good clean and degrease. So this is just a case of getting it back together and making sure it all works, with obviously the replacement seals in the master cylinder. So let's pop that on, get that bled up, and hopefully we'll have a working clutch again that won't drip oil, won't drip clutch fluid on the floor. Let's see how we get on. Sprocket cover complete with the slave, new banjo crush washers, etc., all bolted in place. Last thing I've got to do is put the gear lever on. But just a top tip, if ever you're doing something like this, now you're probably not going to be able to see that, I'll try to get a bit of light if I sit it there. Circlips have a right and a wrong way. It's not going to focus, is it? They have a right and a wrong way of fitting. If you look at a circlip where they're punched out as they're manufactured, you will have a, it's not going to focus, but you're going to have to trust me here, they will have a sharp edge and a rounded edge. you want the sharp edge to take the thrust, because obviously it is going to dig into the groove where it should sit. The rounded edge is going to be more likely to better pop out. So yeah, just a little tip. Thrust washers, circlips do have a way around, and obviously it's on the gear lever. There is a stainless washer on there as well. So I'm going to fit that quickly with the old trusty circlip pliers, and then it's just going to be a case of bleeding that up, and we should have a clutch, all being well. In the words of Borat in My Awful Impression, great success. We have a clutch. Cover back on, topped up to the max, you won't be able to see that. Much lighter than before, and no leaks. We'll say no leaks, we'll find out tomorrow, won't we? If I come back to the workshop tomorrow and there's a pool of hydraulic fluid on the floor, then we'll know that there is an issue somewhere. But other than that, yeah, another job done. One more job done in the list of, it seems like, endless jobs. But it will be good when it's done. It will be lovely. Right then, let's get the trusty rusty thing of beauty that is the RS out. Because against the wall there, if you can see that, is my breaker bar. My homemade breaker bar. So I'll get that sorted. I might have to move the DRZ out as well, just to break the bead on this thing, because fuck knows how long that tyre's been on there. I'm going to guess 20 years or 24 years if the manufacture date is anything to go by. And then we'll get the tyre off, we'll have a look at the rim, we'll get that valve out. I've got other valves, I've got spare valves. We'll get it cleaned up and we'll get some paint on it. Won't go back together today because obviously the paint's not going to dry. It's going to be a few days to let that harden off before I try and put the tyre back on. The old BT 023s, which should be lovely. And then that'll be another job done. I can get the back end of the bike assembled then. I can get the rear caliper on and get the rear brake bled up, get everything cleaned. Still needs to be a fair bit of cleaning on the back. As you can see in the swing arm, it's a bit mucky in there. But yeah, we'll get that all done. And then that'll be the back end done, which will be nice. And then that leaves the front end to do, which is the fork seals. There's only one that's leaking, this one, but you're not going to do fork seals as a one. They should always be done in pairs. So we'll get that done. We'll sort out the knackered bolt on there that won't come out, but that'll be done once the forks are out, which will probably be a case of strapping the bike to a joist and lifting it up. I might better get something under the frame rails, but we'll play that by ear. And then the bodywork will be back on, and then it might be road test time. I do need to sort out a few bodges. If it will focus on the end of the top fairing mount, you will see, unbelievably, that someone has hammered, put my hand there, will that focus? Someone has hammered a wooden dowel into the top fairing brace and then used a wood screw to locate the top of the fairing. Now, I'm pretty sure that isn't genuine Suzuki. Just gut feeling, could be wrong, but I don't think that's OEM. So I need to find out, because I can't remember. I'm going to guess it's some sort of rubber nut that fits in there. I do have some, I'm sure I've got some somewhere. Old fairing screen screws, something like that. So we'll have a play with that. It's the same both sides, to be fair. They did bodge both sides. Yeah, you couldn't make it up, could you? So if this is your old bike and you're watching this, chuck a comment in. Because, I mean, to be fair, it works. That is solid. and they even put a dab of paint over the end, but that's not staying, obviously. Right then, tyre time, back in a sec. Here we go, homemade bead breaker time. Basically, you got a length of bar. It was a square section, but I did have to weld a bit of tube over the top to strengthen it, because I did have a particularly awkward tyre, and it started bending the rod. A couple of bits of angle bolted to the wall with holes in different places for different size wheels. Then obviously you've got the breaker part, bit of bar, bit of plate that's bent obviously to fit the wheel, and then that just bolts through there. I think I might have a couple of, have I got extra holes in there? But anyway, you can drill extra holes to move that along if you need to. And then underneath, if you can see that, just a couple of blocks of wood. And then basically remove the valve inner, locate the obviously it can slide down because you need two hands really to do that, and then you just obviously pull down on the bar and it breaks the bead. I've changed my own tyres for as long as I can remember, with various levers, obviously tyre valve core tools. Some of these, you know what, these are probably the best levers I've got, and they were cheap as anything off of eBay or Amazon. Rim protectors for when it all goes back together, and then I have got a pot of tyre soap, spare valve cores, weights. What do we got in there? Tyre valves, dust caps, a couple of extra levers, stuff like that. So it's all set up for doing it myself, so I can balance them up. And I always static balance the wheels, and they've always been fine. Even in racing days, they were always fine. I know, you know, machine balancing is probably the gold standard, but this works for me and always has. So let's get this tyre off, have a look at the rim, get the disc off, give it a clean and give it a paint. See how we get on. Right, I'm probably, as you can hear, a bit out of breath. That is fucking solid on there. I've tried both sides. I stood on it in the end, so I'll need to sort that out. But I think I'm going to be going to a tyre shop and get them to use their machine. I've never been defeated by a tyre before, so fuck knows if that's bonded on or whatever that is, but it looks like I'm going to be going to find a tyre shop. So back soon.